Hey, welcome to this video. I thought I'd do a video on how I play this game, Infinity Battlescape, and other space games like Elite Dangerous using this, so the Elite's Xbox controller. And the benefit of this, the Elite controller over a standard Xbox controller, the price is vastly different. This is paid about 110, 120 pounds, something like that. Standard controller you can pay, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds. There's a massive difference in price, but it is a more robust piece of kit, and you do get better fine-tuning of the control. In particular, you get 3 different lengths of stick here. This is the longest, so you can fit these on. And then you have more sensitivity around the control. When you're flying the ship using these thumbsticks here, is much more sensitivity, you get much better control. And similarly, when I'm playing F1, I'm driving the F1, the car in F1 2019 racing game, much more sensitivity to the control. Similarly with the triggers, again, these are much more sensitive, and you can have a much better feel for the control there. But the other good thing is that you get these 4 paddles at the bottom here. So there's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and you can assign these paddles to the A, B, X, Y buttons on the top of the controller there. So for this game I only need 2 paddles, so I'm going to take the other 2 off, and they're just magnetic attachments, so they come off pretty easy. But I just use these 2 paddles. So when I press this paddle here, I've mapped it to one of the buttons on here, and the other one the same, different button. And you do that in Xbox accessories, if I remember rightly. You can get as an app that manages the mappings, manages how you set this, you configure this device, and you can just very simply set these paddles to replicate the buttons here. If you don't know how to do that, maybe ask in the comments. It should be fairly straightforward. If you just go into your Windows 10, type in Xbox accessories, and just look for the app that allows you to configure this controller. I think it's there. I can't remember if I downloaded it or if it's just in there already. You'll find out. So basically I'm gonna just go into the controls here. The reason why I'm doing this video is because when I first bought this game, it took me ages to just figure out the controls. Despite having played Elite Dangerous for a long time, I still was a little bit confused, but I managed to unconfuse myself. And I'm only going to really look at the keybinds, so all this other stuff you need to figure it out yourself. Oh, actually no, invert pitch axis and invert roll axis, I have those switched on, inverted. Do I want automatic throttle? Don't know. Maybe, maybe not. So yeah, into the keybinds themselves, I've selected the Xbox controller inputs, and to start with, we have this direct flight mode. I'm not going to talk through all the different flight modes. I'm just going to talk through the controls. So for ship yaw, and yaw is when you're flying along and you want to just kind of drift this way or that way. I hope that's a accurate enough description. So it's a bit like turning, effectively. It's almost like turning the steering wheel on the car. I've got the ship yaw set to the axis 3, which is this right hand side. So my left right turning is left right on the right hand stick here. And then pitch, I'm actually using the other stick here. Pitch up and down is on the left hand stick. So when I'm flying, if I want to pitch and turn, I'm using both sticks here. So let me just caveat this. You can set the controls however you want. This might not suit you at all, but for me that works quite nicely. So I use pitch left stick up and down, and your right stick, left and right. Virtual navigation, cursor flight mode, cursor X, cursor Y. Again, I don't really, this is what confused me when I've tried to do this myself. I didn't really understand what all these things were. But cursor X, again, I've got the same thing. It's on my right hand stick, left, right. And cursor Y is left hand stick, up, down. But then generic flight controls, these make a little bit more sense, I think. Ship left and ship right. So I don't have ship X set. I've just got ship left and ship right. And for those, I'm using the paddles. So this is effectively strafing. So if you're flying along like this and you want to drift this way or drift this way, imagine you're pointing at a target and you want to kind of drift along and fire along the x-axis. So I'm using here my paddle, left and right. So effectively, if I'm stationary and I just want to drift along X left and right and shoot at something or do whatever, I'm literally just pulling the paddles here. I don't need to touch the sticks, I can pull the paddles. If I want to fly around, pitch and yaw and drift, then I'm using thumbsticks and paddles. So it kind of works quite well. And then ship Y is up and down here. So when I'm in generic flight mode, I've got the ship Y. That's on my axis 4. Yeah, okay. Which is the right stick here. And I don't think it conflicts, because when you're in generic flight mode, I don't think it conflicts with direct flight mode. I'm not sure. But there we go. So if I want to just literally rise or fall, I'm using the right stick, up or down. So when I'm just kind of fine tuning, if I'm static and I'm just kind of moving around, almost like WASD. That's pretty much what it is. So my A and D on my right and left paddles, and my WS, my up and down here. I hope that makes a bit of sense. And then acceleration, deceleration, I've got it on the shoulder buttons here. So accelerate, decelerate. Reason being is because I've got my fire, my shooting the weapons is on my triggers. If I think of a driving game, I'd have accelerate, decelerate on the triggers, and then I'd be using the sticks, left, right, etc. But flight here, got accelerate, decelerate on the shoulder buttons, using the sticks to yaw and pitch, and using the triggers to move left and right. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, when I'm yawing with this right stick, then I can go up and down with the right stick as well. So it doesn't conflict, I think. And that's pretty much your that's your bread and butter, pretty much. Once you've got that sorted out, and bear in mind, I have this ticked. Why do I have this ticked? Revert this event's axis value. Not sure. I'm going to take that off and see if it makes a difference. So these things here, for example, if you tick it, what it means is when you give an input and then release, it reverts back to 0. So if I was going to, maybe I want this actually. Do I want this on? Probably. So when I press the up on the right stick to lift up, to give it upward thrust, it will give it upward thrust, and if I release the right stick, it will go back to 0. So it'll just move me up and stop. It probably makes sense to have that on. We'll see. So that's the most of it. The other thing you need to think about in the capital ship, if you've got this game, you'll know, flying the capital ship, you basically go into a turret, and then your sticks are used to aim your turret, which is shooting. So you can't then use your sticks to fly the ship. So what they've done in this game, and it's quite smart, you've got a couple of keys here where you can actually press the key, wherever you're facing with your turret, let's say I'm over here with the turret looking at an enemy ship and my ship's flying this way. And I've got a vector like this, I can just press this auto turn, cap ship auto turn, and cap ship turn. To when I'm facing this way, I press the key and it will just automatically turn the ship to where I'm facing there. It's pretty smart design actually. It's quite a good solution to the problem of how you still fly the ship whilst you're staring in a turret. So I've just got these set to a couple of keys here. I think this is like the American keyboard or some European, I'm not sure. But there's a couple of keys next to each other. So when you're in the capital ship flying in turret mode, you need to make sure you have cap ship auto turn selected. So you press the tilde key in this case. And then when you're looking in that direction, I just press the semicolon and it will automatically turn the ship towards where I just looked. So you need to have those keys configured somehow. You don't have to use these keys, you can use whatever keys you want, but I would definitely recommend getting these on. The rest of it, I think you just, these are the keys just as you see fit. Whether you want to leave them to default or whatever keys you want to select, it's up to you. But these ones are really worth setting as well, these formation keys, and I've just got them on the keypad, which I think works quite well. Switch formation, formation free, match velocities, etc. The developers of this game have just done a bunch of videos explaining quite a lot about the basics of this game, so I know there's a video in there that talks about formation flying, so check that out if you're not sure. And then these keys are good target speed keys, just your number keys. This is default settings. So again, when you are in the capital ship, it's useful to be able to set the speed using these keys. I wonder if that needs to be deselected, I'm not sure. Is there anything else? Yeah, the F4 key cycles through the different control modes. Again, if you play the game, just press the F4 key a few times, see which different control modes are there, especially the capital ship. In the smaller ships, you don't need to bother changing control modes, I don't think. In the capital ships, you do. And then the fire buttons, primary fire is on my trigger, and secondary fire on the other trigger here. So that works quite well. I've got missile and chaff configured to the keyboard. The only other thing I've got configured to the controller that's worth talking about is these target center, previous, next, closest keys. It's pretty good. So if you're staring at a ship, an enemy ship in front of you, I press on the key, the directional keypad here. I've got it configured to up and Y, the Y key here, and then target, previous and next is simply left and right with the Y key pressed here. So I can just press up and target, and then next target, and then previous target on the controller here. It's quite hard to explain it, but basically I'm pressing the up key and then either this, or to target closest, this one. And you can see that's selected in there. There's two keys there. So target center is up and Y, and there we have it. So I hope that helps. Switch overcharge. Oh, have I got these configured? Oh yeah, and I have, and this is the other one last thing. These overcharges are also useful to have configured, and I've got them configured to the directional pad. So overcharge engine is up, shields I think is left, weapons is right, overcharge off is down. So you can see I'm using this pad both for the overcharge just on its own, pressing the keypad, different buttons, and then when I press the up keypad in conjunction with the actual buttons on the right hand side of the pad, I'm doing the target, center, previous, next and closest. So I've fitted quite a lot onto the keypad here. It works pretty well. This is also worth mentioning as well when you're in the view mode. I've got the yaw and the pitch. set to the right hand stick effectively. So when I'm flying along, if I want to look at outside of the cockpit, to the left or to the right or up or around, whatever, I press the bracket key here, left bracket, and then I just move the right stick to look around. And then to reset, this should say left bracket twice. And a double tap left bracket. It doesn't show it, but that's what that's set to, double tap left bracket. So there we go. That's my controllers. That's my controls. Game menu and main menu set to the start and reset buttons in the middle here. So yeah, and let's just quickly dive into the game so we can see how that works in practice. I think the only challenge with this game is with the controls that I've just described is when I want to go into the weapons menu. There's a bunch of radial menus in the game. There's weapons, systems, and communications. And I have to, at the moment I've got them configured to the keyboard. So W, A and S for weapons, communications and systems. The problem is when you select it, you have to keep your finger pressed on the key, and then you have to use both of these thumbsticks to actually select something on the radial menu, and then release the key press when you've got it selected on what you want, which is pretty tricky, and I'm hoping that gets changed in the game at some point. So I'll literally just quickly spawn in a fighter. I think I'm in an interceptor. Yeah. So you can see here I'm in the ship. In which mode am I in? Automatic kind of just leaves you in direct or target mode actually, I think. Direct? It's direct. Okay, so to go forward, backward, I'm just using my shoulder buttons here. This is forward. And that accelerates me out. If I want to decelerate, press the other shoulder button and I'm back to 0 here. I want to reverse it. Reverse flight doesn't seem to work there. Don't know. But if I reverse... Did it work? Let's just check that. Yeah, it did. Wow. So there is a key for reverse flight, which is useful for capital ships, which basically switches the vector. So if you're going forward, press reverse flight and it will just change direction and of the thrust, and the thrust you backwards instead. So here we go with the left stick, up and down and roll, and the right stick to yaw. So it works quite well. I can just kind of maneuver around, and if I want to strafe, say for example I was aiming at Saraki there, I just press this key to strafe left, set my speed to 0. I crash into the wall. Yeah. And then this is the other key to strafe right, so the right key here. It works quite well, and you can obviously do all of that. You can combine it all into one. And bang, bam, bump into the ship. There we go. Works the same with flight assist off. Flight assist off just means when you're going in one direction, when you've thrusted into one direction, turn flight assist off, and you can turn the ship around using just rotational thrusters, etc. And you're still flying in the same original direction, but you can turn your ship around. So it's good for combat. So if you want to just turn around, somebody's following you, you can turn flight assist off, spin the ship around 360 degrees, take a bunch of shots at them whilst you're flying away from them effectively. It's a good thing to practice. There we go. I think that's it. I don't want to. So I'm not saying this is the best way to control the ship. You know, I can't play with mouse and keyboard. I have tried mouse and keyboard once. I tried to play Elite Dangerous with mouse and keyboard, and it just drove me crazy. So I couldn't get used to it. I'm not saying this is any better. I'm not saying it's the best method. I'm not saying my configuration is the best way to configure it. I just want to put this out there to help if you're buying this game or any space game, probably going to be similar, and you kind of think to yourself, how the hell do I set the controls up? Feel free to comment if you got better ways to do it, different ways you see improvements that I could make. Feel free to comment. Let me know. Alrighty, thanks for checking this out.